everybody. It's the PirateDiffusion show.
What's up? How's it going?
Welcome to the PirateDiffusion show. Everyone, welcome. I'm Captain Freeman, joined by creator of PirateDiffusion, Elak305.
Hey.
We've got two regulars from the community, Mr. Eggs Benadryl.
What's up, everybody?
And creator of the Dadbot family, many characters, the CEO of Squib Software. Am I saying that right?
I think that's about right. Hey, how's it going?
It's Squib Duck. Guys,
hello.
Thank you so much for joining us. A couple of things to announce first, and then we'll get to the show. We are doing a Halloween contest. It's a challenge where you can win a PirateDiffusion hoodie or PirateDiffusion shower curtains or $50.
Are we allowed to flip the shower curtain? We could probably get something pretty penny for it.
$49.99.
15 ounce badge.
Come with mold already, or I have to add my own mold to the shower curtain?
Oh my goodness.
Pre-molded.
Then the niches.
And congratulations to Cause, Koopa, and Witty for winning the Fabulous Hair Right There contest. And we'll link that in the show description. Why don't we do some quick intros? Thomas.
So I've been a coder for quite a while at this point, and the ability to generate images from text came about a couple years ago. I was super excited by it. I started using it for some ideas for game art, for art projects, just for fun. And when Stable Diffusion dropped, it was a leap ahead of what used to be possible. It would take me, I think it was 20 minutes per frame to render a piece in the past. And then Stable Diffusion, I was doing it in 45 seconds. So I was enamored. So me and Freeman, we decided, let's just throw this fucker on Telegram. And here we are.
When I first discovered this, it was just probably on some app or something like that. Or maybe Dolly, people were posting it to social media or something like that. And then you find some app on Android, and then they start changing it, and then they start restricting everything you can do. And so I figured I'd look for alternatives, and that's how I found PirateDiffusion. And I don't think I even knew it was on a Telegram bot when I joined. I just paid for it. Said, this looks cool. And then I really liked the interface, and it seemed odd to begin with doing Telegram bot, but it ended up being probably the fastest way you could render, as far as I could see, at least all my macros and stuff like that. And it's been really interesting to see how it's changed just in a couple months since I've been here.
On the record, Eggs, I want to say that your work's been very appreciated.
You guys have added so many features just since I started. Like you said earlier, I think Squib, we were rendering at 512, thinking that was cutting edge and amazing.
Oh yeah. Let's see. So I've always been tech inclined. I do tech in my day job. I found the DALI website, I guess it would have been 2 years ago or so, and early old school ghetto stuff. And I was just so blown away at, I had pages and pages of tabs of just crazy stuff, and I'd save my It was and it was so bad. The quality was so bad. I was doing just weird architecture, just weird artsy, Art Deco stuff, just whatever. And then one day on Telegram, I found this weird PirateDiffusion channel, and I'm like, what's going on here? And the first thing I noticed was wow, there's a lot of good research material scrolling across the screen here. There's a lot of good images. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to try it out. It felt a little bit intimidating at first because there was people in the same room. So whatever you render, they see. And it was like, wow, that was a very interesting dichotomy compared to solo rendering in a web UI or something. Definitely. And I think I tried a few others before. I can't remember the names right now, but PD ended up being, there's just something about it. I think it was no restrictions on the rendering. You could just go until you fell asleep, which often I do. And I was just like, this is so cool. This is the greatest thing. And I haven't looked back since. It's it takes up so much of my free time. It's ridiculous. Every single day. Always rendering stuff for research.
Yeah, I work here and I'm super obsessed with it. Tom was building this thing for fun. He was building it for us. Just a group of friends who wanted generative images together. He put his credit card down on a really expensive server at the time, which was risky. And it was... And I was like, okay, let's just make it cool. And if nobody shows up, then we gave it our best shot. And luckily people came. We have hundreds of people using the system at any given hour. So that was scary, but it worked out. Our main business now is API, building websites and apps and helping other developers create stuff with this. But my favorite part is the community part and having all these groups and different kinds of interests and different kinds of people using it. It's really rewarding for me on a personal level.
The collaboration is magical.
Yeah.
I didn't think I would ever say that, but it's so funny.
So for people that have never seen the PirateDiffusion before, or maybe they're confused about what they're looking at on the screen, the four of us are logged into one Telegram room, and we can take turns using Stable Diffusion by sending chat messages, and we can all see the images appearing at the same time. Do this /start command.
Okay, first of all, I'll just say before anything else, if I was to say to my family or my mom, hey, you can make pictures out of nothing, have you heard anything about this? And she's probably say, sure, okay, your technology is pretty amazing. What can this app do? How do I work it? And the first thing they're probably going to run into is like how to talk to the bot. And when Morgan here just mentioned the /start, that's a really good example of it doesn't recognize everyday things like everyday dialogue. So if I were to just say, render me something, it's not going to pick up on it and it won't talk to you. But if you precede it with a command like /render, it will then listen to you and start rendering for you. It'll even give you an estimate of how long that's going to take. Now, the rabbit hole is deep. There's a lot to go over. There's a lot of commands, but the basic one, the meat and potatoes, is just /render, spacebar, and then whatever you want. And I think there's a sandwich menu when you're talking to a bot in a one-on-one, and it can help you out with some of these commands. There we go. Isn't that something? Look at those. Those are actually really good for a default.
Yeah, my mom could do that, like you said.
So on mobile, it's really nice. It's an unexpected way of rendering art through Telegram.
And it's really fast. You don't need the latest iPhone 15 to use this. It's all done on the cloud. I have an ancient old Pixel phone, and it's so fast. And I see people all the time on Reddit, oh, I've got a 3070 RTX, and it takes 25 minutes to get one picture. Oh my God, you don't have this.
Yeah, otherwise the barrier to entry can be pretty big if you don't have a service like this.
And we have so many AI models hot on the cloud, meaning we've gone and done the work. We've downloaded 2 terabytes of these kind of art styles.
What, 2,500 of them now or something?
What, 2,800, I think? More.
Oh, there you go.
And we have a list on our website. So if you just go to PirateDiffusion.com and you click models, you can see all of them. And within Telegram, as I just did, you do /concepts. And here's just the categories of the kinds of AI models that you can incorporate into your images. What when you show them?
Butts category?
That is a whole butts category.
I wouldn't know. I never click on that one. I wouldn't know anything about that category.
18 and over, folks.
What did you do there? There's all these buttons covering the screen. Is that... Okay, those are categories. Right. Okay, so Telegram has built-in menus, and it has buttons that you can interact with to expand those offerings. And depending on how it's coded, how it's set up here is you press one of those buttons of a category like, and then up above, you'll see a list of the different concepts. Now, it might be a little bit hard to digest at first because it's, wow, what a wall of text. But where it says try the visual concept browser, you should see a little hot link just above those buttons. And if you click that in a new window, it'll open a link straight to the PirateDiffusion site. And the web UI has visual examples. It's really great. It's basically like a search engine for concept. There's so many now. Concepts or models, right? Depending on how you want to call it. There's so many now. It's mind-boggling. And if it weren't for that visual browser, man, I wouldn't know what I'm doing. I have a few safe ones that I hold on to, and I'm like, these are my favorites. But every so often I browse that visual browser and find some new gems.
Let's give one a shot.
Yeah. What's your favorite LoRa?
Oh my God.
Yes, I like the sticker, or not the stickers, the Sharpie LoRa. It's really good for illustration styles to put it alongside an illustrative model, and it'll make it look like a whimsical illustration. Let's give it a shot.
Give it a shot.
So,
Show and tell.
one of my favorite illustrative base models is, I'm not even sure how to say this, Arthemy. It's a comic book style, Western illustration style. So we'll add the LoRa as well as the base model, and we'll see what it gives us. And you can see the number in there is just how strong we want the effect to be.
So what we're seeing on the screen here is we have an estimated render time of 26 seconds. The system will return 5 images at a time. So it's really fast per picture, if you think about it. We are giving you the ability to vote on your favorite pictures. And these 5 buttons at the bottom allow you to upscale the resolution and get a finer detail out of the picture once it appears. There it goes, Cox. Mommy's Rhett's Cox have appeared.
Unavoidable.
Yes.
Hey, it's the internet, after all.
Also Cox.
So good. So when you typed that in, by the way, I noticed you put them in angle brackets. Arthemy, is that your model? Sorry, your concept? And then Sharpie is the LoRa, right?
Yeah, so the base, so you can use one base concept, which is Arthemy, and as many LoRas as you can fit in there. It's best to use a base concept to pick one depending on the style that you want. Arthemy's comic book illustration, something like that. But there's photorealism models, all sorts of things. And you could try every LoRa combination you could think of.
And I saw you put a number after Sharpie there, was it? Your LoRa. Now, because I've never used Sharpie before, so I'm just going to type your render or your command there without render in front of it. What does Sharpie do again? Does that make it look like a cartoon, like outline style?
But it works best with anime models. So let's actually try to change our base model to show how that changes the overall style.
Okay, so your base model, you're going to have to walk me through that one just to make sure that I know what you're doing.
So let's see, I'll paste it and we'll talk about the changes that I made.
Sounds good.
So you can see it's the exact same, except for I changed one of the concepts here.
Okay,
I changed it from Arthemy to me in a mix. So that's a more anime style, and it works better with this LoRa, I find.
Okay, gotcha. So some LoRa's are like, they don't talk to some models very well. They don't work with them too.
They all work, but the effects will be different, or they might be less pronounced on certain models. Let's see.
Mom baking cookies in the kitchen, wearing an apron, holding up a sign that read, oh.
My favorite LoRa of the moment is called Better Text. And
really?
Yeah, it's so silly. Thank you, Eggs, for the love. The family of Stable Diffusion XL models, they're higher resolution. They understand text a little better. So what I've typed here is render, and my silly idea. And I'm using a LoRa called Better Text XL. That's just the name of it.
Right.
I picked it out from the visual browser, and then
There you go.
my base art style. And
That's definitely art.
that's just as a gag to send to like my friends, like just to be able to just produce these humans to do my bidding.
You made an instant meme.
It's just so much fun. Again,
So I noticed you didn't put a number after your LoRa Better Text 8XL. Why is that?
good question. So our default weight for LoRa's is 0.7. And that's
0.7.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's like a sweet spot for the weights. Oh, nice.
I like Street Interview. It was my answer to favorite LoRa's right now. I found it super silly. You can just have anyone having a street interview. Interesting. Okay, your Minamix version of your cookie Scott pack. Very different looking. That's interesting.
Yeah, you can see how it simplified parts of the edges of these photos. And that's, so like the hearts, that's definitely part of this. It's very cartoonish and hand-drawn style. I just did another one that will be of a person. So I think that might show the LoRa style a little better. And I increased the weight, as you'll see.
I'll stop spamming Zeldas. Oh, there's a floating mic there. One of the things I showed here is I kept the prompt exactly the same. And the only thing I changed was the model. So I went from Photon, which is my favorite realism model, over to Real Cartoon 3D6, which is pretty good. Usually has almost a bit of a Pixar look to it, but I guess it depends there. It almost looks realistic. That's
cool.
really nice. With a cherry
So
blossom.
yeah, you can definitely see the hand-drawn effect a lot more with the anime style and increased weight.
Cool.
And let's do one more. Can someone do a remix on one of these?
You're the one that taught me how to do a remix, Squid.
Oh, okay.
That one.
Sure. When you see a picture you like already and you're thinking, I just want to change that picture, I don't want to make a fresh picture. Rather than typing /render, what you can even do is type /remix. But because of the way Telegram works, the bot needs to know what the heck you want to remix. So you can't send it a picture, but it's easier than that. What you do is you just right click on, or depending on if you're on mobile or not, long press on a picture, you reply directly to the picture that you want to remix. So for example, right here, I'll just reply to one of the last images there. So
there you go.
Nice.
Interesting. So I said remix giraffe in a street interview. And what's cool about it is it still looks like the original picture, but you can in some of them see there's a giraffe right in the background. There's a giraffe like a hoodie on, even just some clothing motif there. But if I were to increase the strength up higher and higher, eventually you'd get to the point where the image is entirely new. I think strength 1.0, that's 100% brand new. You might as well just render a new image at that point. But that's a little example of how to, bend and shift one image into another crazy idea.
That's awesome. I love the little giraffe on her head. It's so funny. I really do love that about Stable Diffusion in general. This is so freaking creative.
And you can get as specific as you want with those parameters. The more you learn, the more you have control over those kind of things.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And there's, I think in one of the other show and tells, Morgan was talking about just how random it is and you never know what you're going to get. And that's, I think, where a lot of the charm comes from.
I take that for granted because I've been living in the software for a year. But it's just kind of like you said earlier, it's a funky paradigm. If you're coming in from like a web UI. And so we've got some reader questions here from the community. First question comes from Prime. said he'd love for us to delve into the amazing recipes and give newcomers some experience on how recipes work. Who wants to take that one?
Oh yeah, those things.
I only use the one I made for myself.
So I guess to talk about it more like very specifically, a recipe is a combination of all the different settings that you can normally use in a render, but it's pre-specified for you when you decide to use the recipe. So if you had a recipe called realism, it would pick out a model, it would pick out some terms to add before and after your prompt, it would set a size, it would set all the different rendering, a sampler. All those settings are predefined so that you're starting from a really good template, I guess is one way to look at it. So you take a recipe and you put in your own custom prompt terms, and what comes out is your base prompt plus all this extra stuff that some genius expert like Eggs or Squib came up with. Yeah.
Quite the segue.
Thank you. You can make recipes for yourself, but what's really encouraged is to share them with the community by creating them in the main group. If you go to, I think it's cloud.gradient.ai/recipes, you can see all the ones that exist currently. Some recipes have,
I see boost was invoked here in the chat. So recipe, the syntax for recipes is hashtag. You can see hashtag boost right there in the feed.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So Eggs is trying to.
Impressionism and romanticism. Oh, one after another. Yeah, to see the differences. So yeah, the recipes are almost creating macros in a sense. You set it up in advance, positive prompts, negative prompts, other arguments, size, model, LoRa's, whatever. And then you can invoke it with a keyword. Yeah.
Yeah, which one's this? The romanticism?
Whoa.
Here you go. Still works. Nice.
That's amazing. Oh,
And that's without inversions, I think.
That's cool.
that's a great example.
The psychedelic one's crazy.
So the user can see that despite having the same base prompt, the end result is dramatically different because the entire prompt is redesigned.
Yeah, if you tap the image and scroll down on the caption, you can see everything that was added to it. And for most of these, I just added artist references, just a bunch of them. I probably went on ChatGPT and asked them,
Oh yeah.
let's meet 25 psychedelic 1960s artists or whatever. Put them in there.
That's the way to do it.
Speaking of using a GPT, one of the other questions from user Mark wants to know, what are our prompting habits?
Oh,
That's become one of mine.
Zelda butts.
Zelda butts. Is that a recipe?
Old reliable.
It might be.
Gotta be.
Oh, look how happy that guy is on Oktoberfest. That's funny.
Go ahead.
I can start that one off. So in general, when I'm rendering, I'll probably just have an idea. I'll start with just 1 or 2 words, something simple. And because I guess I'm not super creative when it comes to concepts or models as they're called, I'll just stick with my old faithful ones. Bang it out, just get a render or 2 going. And from there, start adding keywords to steer it one way or another. I have some pretty good negative prompts that I like to use. I can get into that later, but to suffice it to say, start small and then go big as you go. That's if it's an original idea from my head. Otherwise, if I'm seeing like an idea online or some kind of a cool picture that I like, but the prompt is 100 freaking words, it's this gigantic wall of text. Sometimes I'll just for fun copy paste one of those and then start working with that. But in general, that works pretty well for me. And the only other thing, I was mentioning this earlier, is editing a message if you're using the Telegram interface. That way you don't have to send multiple messages every time. The PirateDiffusion bot will pick up those edits and fire off another render.
Yeah, press up on your keyboard and make a slight text change and resend it. You don't have to type /render every time.
Since we got embeddings and everything, I decided to just make myself a recipe. I know that has my favorite ones in there. I also made myself a bunch of macros. So if you use your phone, this might be really helpful for people. I have a boilerplate macro that I put in for pretty much all renders. It pretty much looks like this. It's super simple, so you don't have to put anything really in it. You can put your recipe, how many images, guidance, whatever you want to put in there, and then just your prompt and a model, and you can insert your favorite negative prompts, whatever you like to do. You can make your own if you have certain embeddings or negative prompts you like. So that's basically how I've just been speeding that up.
Awesome.
And then I, as you can see here, a couple messages above, I use more a lot, which is high-res fix. You'll see it online. It'll take the same image and it will add noise to it and upscale it and then decode the noise that it added. And you can choose the amount of noise you want added to it. And that's how much your image will change essentially. So you can see I put 50 or 0.5, which is 50% of the image is now noise, will be re-decoded. And so you can see how much better the image looks. And then I do that at different sizes. Like I said, I've got macros, so I'll just put them in the chat here real quick.
So when you said 50%, are you talking about the strength setting?
Yes. And online, you'll find that referred to as denoising strength.
Oh, okay. I'm still a noob, man.
It makes it easy for people having a denoising strength. It's a pain to type out.
That is one of the challenges, to accept the community's terminology for something, which sometimes is a little abstract, versus coming up with something short and sweet that maybe is unique.
Certainly. No doubt.
If I try to start with the one that says 1024 images 3, you can go all the way up to 6 images with 1024 like this. I also have one that is for 9 images. You can go up to 850 and do 9 images. So that way you have more options to choose from should it change too much.
I see you're preceding all of those arguments with \more. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, you need that in order to use the command at all, and you have to reply to an image with it. As you see where I did with the lighthouse, if you click on more here, at least on mobile, it'll jump back up to the command where I used it and where I replied to the image that I wanted to change with the lighthouse here.
So you use more instead of remix? Is that just a personal preference?
With remix, you need to add back all of your parameters and your prompts, which I find time consuming. Some people think that's their preferred method, which is perfectly fine. But the best way to do that would be to, let's go back to the original image, just use show prompt on it. And you can copy pretty much where it says render and shows the whole thing. You can basically copy that, change the render to remix and increase the size. And you basically accomplish the same thing, but with slight variations. You can see it locks the sampler and it locks certain other things that more doesn't lock unless you specify.
What about you, Tom? Do you have any rendering habits?
More exists for a reason. I think it's a convenient feature. So when I'm trying to achieve that result, I use it. I would say in my experience, remix can sometimes be, and it's hard to remix and just for me, I'm not as great at prompting as you guys are, but it's hard for me to remix my way out of a problem a lot of the time. Yeah, I wouldn't say I spend as much time I remix as I do just inside render.
It's hard to know what denoising to use to get just the right amount of changes.
Oh, right. Denoising. I keep thinking of something else. You mean, okay. So I'm used to it. Yeah. I found like 0.55 or something. There's like this happy medium where it really will start changing it. But
yeah, you can see all mine use 0.5. For certain models, I'll bring it down, like that oil painting model that I really like that we just added. It changes it to looking too much anime, so I changed that to 2.5.
Now,
0.25.
I've embraced, and I don't always do it, but I try to get into the habit of the clearly spacing out and tabulating the different kinds of things in my inputs. I was not super into it. I think it was Traco, my first time doing it. And I was thinking like, man, all those tokens going to waste, one extra space. And I'm just like, you know what?
Like this?
Yeah. It sure beats trying to decrypt a.
Yeah, I think he didn't like it.
White text.
I remember I tried to show it to him, and I think he was making the argument that it was wasting tokens or it was giving him different renders, which it would be, but I wouldn't say that it's a slight.
Yeah, like a finger jiggled or something, or like an ear is slightly different. Yeah.
But that's what I do. I add line breaks into all of this just to make it so much simpler.
Yeah. It is easier to read. I tend to start with the concepts browser because I'm just a visual person. Try to come up with weird combinations of LoRa's and base models. It's like a casino. It's just such a fun toy.
Absolutely. It defies Einstein or whoever was misquoted by that. Doing the same thing again.
I really like that we have requests coming in from the community to install LoRa's and checkpoints and things that I haven't seen ever. I'm always crawling the sites for new AI models to install. Starting from that and then trying to make something from the new additions is how I go about it. And that's one of my favorite parts. We have another question from Tom. What do you eat for breakfast and what's your favorite Teletubby?
I usually eat an energy drink and I don't support globalized media like that. So
it's the breakfast to champions.
You eat an energy drink. We'll get back to that.
I've never really been much of a breakfast person. I don't know. Doesn't seem necessary.
Surely they have stuff at 7-Eleven for breakfast. I know that for a fact.
I'm a late riser, so my breakfast is already pushing into the lunch territory. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Like when I used to work 12-hour nights.
Oh man, that's crazy.
Question for Eggs. Why are people obsessed with anime girls with big boobs and short skirts?
We could write a whole tome on that. I'm sure we could search for academic documents for that. Sure, we'll have to do a weekly class just on that.
Yeah, I don't know.
The psyche of man.
The psyche of man.
What's amazing about Stable Diffusion is it can generate anything.
I like it. Guys, we're almost out of time. I wanted to make a little bit of time to show how ControlNet works. Eggs is the resident master of all ControlNet things, how to use it, and I think people really appreciate it. Oh, your mic's muted.
Bueller.
I heard. Well,
You're rattling around in the.
No worries.
He muted himself. You've muted yourself while he's getting set up.
He typed, yeah.
There's another question about upscalers. there's maybe, I guess there's new upscalers. People are interested in those. Have you seen any?
I haven't seen any recently that seemed like it really jumped out at me, but there's so much stuff happening in the world of diffusion that's hard to keep track. So by all means, bring it to our attention. Stuff that's stable and stuff that has great results we can see or appreciated rather than research projects or stuff that hasn't released code yet, of course. Stuff that would be easy to throw into the pipeline is the best case scenario. By all means, bring everything, either PM me or post it in one of the support channels and we'll get cracking on it. We're very eager to allow users to create every part of their image workflow inside our software. We want to be a one-stop shop in that regard. So we're open to any ideas.
All right, I think I got it back.
Welcome.
All right, take it away.
Let's see. I prepared just a couple pictures, just either some stuff I had or some stuff I was working on. Just to be super quick, let's see. Of course, it's never quick when I need them. Let's see. From the first picture I started with, and then I'll show what the mask looks like for every mode of ControlNet, and I'll show how to do one or two, just based off of that image.
Okay.
Awesome.
For people that have never heard of ControlNet, just give them a high level. What are we about to do here?
What's fun about it, the quickest way to use ControlNet, you can use any render, any picture, and it'll extract the frames from it. It'll extract thick lines from it as you want. It'll even find the depth of an image. So if you have a 3D looking picture and you want to recreate parts of that picture, like the composition, something in the foreground, something in the background, it will detect those objects and you can render on top of it essentially. And you can do that with the pose, like of this guy that I just pasted in the chat. In a second, I'll forward the rest of them and you'll be able to see what it did with those.
So like a stencil or like a suggested arrangement of pixels when it's rendering, right?
Yeah, but one of those will be basically the stencil, a very fine line.
Yeah, so basically ControlNet, it allows you to make the diffusion rendering process conform to various forms of control. And if you type /control in the Telegram bot, you can see the different modes we support. Edge mode, depth control, contours. There's quite a few different modes and they're all documented on our site, but you can use the same image in any different kind of way. And that's a really powerful thing, and including images that are the result of other PirateDiffusion operations, like masking operations. So it gives you the ability to control very specific parts of the images in a couple different ways. One of the great examples he gave here was the skeleton control. So you can see how in that first image, he supplied that skeleton and it generated that, what is it? It's a...
Yeah, so I took the guide here and I used poses on it, and you can see it used this orc or whatever it is here. It spat out this skeleton. So the open pose with all the colors, you can see the face, you can see the legs. You can even manipulate these yourself if you want to. So if you use poses on an image like the first one I uploaded here, just a guy in the room, it will generate that and you can reuse that, but with the skeleton mode.
When you say skeleton mode, you don't mean the pose, because that's how I would traditionally describe like a rigged skeleton, like a character for animation.
Oh yeah, so yeah, you can use, that's what I was, so let's see, let's try it on this picture here. The way I use, so there's two different ways you can use ControlNet. You can reply to a picture with Control/new, and then you name your ControlNet preset like this. When you create a ControlNet with this method, it immediately spits out all the different modes you can use. And so since this is a skeleton, we're going to try that. So all you have to do is tap the bottom one where it says render skeleton old guy. Then it copies it to your clipboard. You can just paste that directly in there. And then it will use this to render the image.
Just for the edification while we're on the subject here, the difference between skeleton and pose is that pose is starting from a picture of someone standing a certain way. So if you take your favorite picture of Ellen DeGeneres doing a yoga pose and you paste it in, you can then use that pose to make other pictures of other people doing the same pose. With skeleton, you have to start from one of the images, those weird black background, multicolor images of human poses. That's like the internal format of how the pose command works, but pose expects to start from a regular picture. Mouthful.
There we go.
Oh,
so you can see it used the frame and you can see the angry old man. Next to him, you can see that's the mask it used.
cool.
And then if we go look back at the ones that I forwarded,
Because results may vary.
Word.
yeah. So in a series of ones that I forwarded here with all the different masks, the second one is edges. And if you take a look at the black mask that it outputted with it, it's like a line drawing. It's very fine lines.
Right.
It's very good at picking up a lot of detail, surprisingly. I would take something from a video game that was just completely chaotic and it would recreate it and I could change all the colors, everything I wanted. And it would use that as a very, it was just a great reference. And you can control how strongly it conforms to that mask that it makes with something called control guidance.
Right. This one here, right? With the edges.
Yep, exactly. And if you look at in the caption here at the bottom, it's just control guidance. If you don't specify one, it does it at random, which is a good way to, if you don't know how it's going to work, you can just leave it control guidance like this.
I think it does a random range. Yeah. I've seen differences between 0.05 and 0.1, but that might just be like a placebo making me think.
Oh no, that's my macro. There we go.
Oh, you have a macro. That's cool.
Yeah. So I have 0.5, 1, and 1.5 is my macro.
I think you got to balance out control guidance versus your regular guidance versus potentially your strength to get the results you want. It's just really, and of course the model itself has its own sort of inbuilt concept of comfortable guidance ranges. So it's definitely a task to balance out the control guidance.
Yeah, absolutely. When you go to render these in that example that we made where it stat out all the different modes, that's how you invoke the different modes with / depth, edges, contours. And so if you look through all the examples, you can see, we don't have to go through them all, but this one is at least worth maybe talking about.
So
Depth.
One thing just to notice there, when I rendered that cat, I told it to use the skeleton of test and it didn't look like it did anything. Could you confirm that that's because I gave it a really low control guidance, like control guidance 0.1? That's probably why.
I think it looks like you gave it 1.3.
Oh, that was on the subsequent render, but if you scroll up a little, I had that like cute cat on a blue background and it looks like it's not using the skeleton because I had control guidance that was really low. When I boosted it
so
up,
it didn't adhere to the mask as strongly.
Right.
So you can use that to your benefit if you really wanted to. If you had, so somebody asked how to do those images where it says a word in the background and it blends in seamlessly. The way that I was able to do that was with a low control guidance. So it didn't take too much of the image and allowed that to seamlessly blend in.
Let it play with it.
I don't think that pose works very well for non-human subjects. They did a buffalo. I don't think it would do the right thing. But if you just change out your prompts for a person, which I'm trying to demonstrate here, if I would stop using the wrong options, I think that you'll get a better result, even with a fairly low control guidance. And I do think that 1.3 is on the high side.
I have a couple more poses here that's saved in my own personal folder. I could forward just to show an example. Let's see.
There you go. That's cool. So control guidance 1.0 is 100%, right? Or is it just an arbitrary number?
It's an arbitrary number because it factors into all the other weighting that's going on in the algorithm. So I don't think it's possible to really say. I would say, in my personal experience, I've gotten the best results with control guidance around 0.6, but that's mostly with reference.
Depends on the mode, like you say. So yeah, you can see all the different poses that I forwarded. A lot of them are portraits. So you can see that even if it doesn't have somebody's arms in the photo that you're using, it will pick up their, I think that's nose, eyes, and ears that it'll find.
Is it really cool?
Shoulders.
Those are really
cool. It's a great way to force it to do portraits. And one thing, so if you scroll up, see the spaceman with his gun. That one, I actually used Excel to get a base image because Excel is really good at following language. So if you tell it you want a guy crouching with a gun, it'll make you a guy crouching with a gun. So you then use that picture as my pose fairly reliably rather than having to go find a picture. You can do it all on PirateDiffusion.
Pretty cool.
I love that.
No, I didn't know that. Yeah, I learned something today. All right, guys, I think that's all the time we have today. We're on 24/7 PirateDiffusion.com, and we're looking for your show questions for the next episode. Guys, anything you want to share?
Thanks.
Yeah, if you ever have any questions about ControlNet or anything like that, just let me know.
Yeah, we're always online.
Oh yeah, definitely. Just reach out. There's a good chance that no matter what the question is, someone in the chat, if it's not us, would be more than happy to jump in and help out, either giving a response or just digging in, because the rabbit hole has no bottom. It's crazy. It just keeps going forever.
There's always someone awake. No one sleeps. Sleep, we die.
People are always very helpful.
It's amazing.
At all hours. It's great because I'm in Japan and it's just there's always someone online. It's amazing.
When I go to bed, you would go.
All right, y'all. Guys, thanks so much for your time. See you.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
All right, everybody.
Thanks very much. Have a great day or night. Take care.
See you.